Alrighty, y'all. Let's talk about what it's like to live in Quebec for 5 weeks. Welcome to my humble abode. If you haven't noticed, I am in a different environment, and that is because I have been living in Quebec for 5 weeks. Do not be fooled. That is a very long time. I thought it was not, but it is a very long time, and we will get into it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my previous video. I explain where I am. You see me vlogging, coming all the way to Quebec. It's a good time. Go check it out. Let's get into the lessons I have learned from these 5 weeks. Okay, now of course I have my handy dandy laptop, because I always do, with some nice notes. Lesson number 1. Changing locations does not change who you are. Okay, let me explain. I had this idea in my head that when I would travel, I would be this completely different person. I would go to cafes, I would, do this and do that and be super active and always be outside and constantly be doing things and seeing things and experiencing things and just opening myself up and just doing everything. I don't know why I had this idea, but I did. I thought I would be this completely different person, and that was completely wrong. Because like I said, changing locations does not change who you are. This blew my mind because coming here, I had this idea in my head that these 5 weeks were going to be the best 5 weeks of my life. I was going to do this and do that, and I was going to get out and make a lot of friends, and I was going to try so many things, and I'm going to learn French, and I'm going to do that. Come these 5 weeks, I realized even though I have so many things to do around me, I consciously choose to stay in the apartment, get some chores done here and there, sit in solitude. I'm very much me still. The me from Calgary, I'm very much me still. I'm not this completely different person. Yes, you can fake it for a while, and yes, the very first week was like that. The very first 2 weeks were like that. But come the 5th week, I'm just who I am in Calgary. And that blew my head. That changing locations would not change who I am. I don't know why I had this preconceived notion, but I did. And if I did, I feel like others might too. So just understand that you are who you are. Your personality, your character, what makes you you, your habits, your rituals, your preferences, those stay the same no matter where you go. I'm still reading books here. I'm still not like a crazy loud person, like crazy vivacious, crazy extroverted, the person with a gazillion friends. Like, that's not me, and that's still not me, right? And that kind of blew my head. Probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned here. Lesson number 2. Humans are adaptable. Like, I knew this theoretically. Humans are adaptable, they can persevere, they can change to their surroundings, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't actually internalize it until this trip. Let me explain. So this trip, I didn't think it would be hard, but it was, and I'll explain why. That is another point. But it was hard, but also I'm so proud of myself for adapting and rising to the challenge, because I kid you not, literally the night I got here, the entire day I was perfectly okay, super excited to get here, super pumped. Come night, and I get into my apartment, get into my room, and I'm thinking, why am I here? Like, what are you doing, Ruha? Like, why are you in the middle of Quebec? Like, why? I would much rather just be back in Calgary. I literally thought that, and I never thought that I would think that. Me, who loves experiences and who loves doing new things and trying new things and living vicariously and living on kind of the edge as well. Someone who loves, the extreme sports and that kind of thing. I never thought I would get here at night and think that. It blew my head how accustomed I was to my surroundings and my comfortable life and what made my life my life. I was so used to my life that stepping outside of that made me super uncomfortable. Like, I thought I was making myself uncomfortable back in Calgary, but this is probably one of the most uncomfortable experiences that I've done in my life. It was just so uncomfortable. Those first few weeks trying to figure out how to do things, how I wanted to do things, how to interact with people the way I wanted to interact with them. And it was just this big mess, okay? And I kid you not, I missed Calgary like crazy, I missed my family like crazy, and I thought, what am I doing here? I just need to get through these 5 weeks. But then as time went on, I began to enjoy my time here. I made a good group of friends. We go on walks all the time to literally everywhere. Those walks have single-handedly made my experience great here. Like, those walks single-handedly have made my experience great, because otherwise I would sit walled up in the apartment like the homebody I am and call it a day. I had a great experience after going through that uncomfortableness, climbing up that hill, and then setting up routine, learning how to do things, learning how I want to do things, how I want to live in these 5 weeks. I adapted. And like I said, theoretically, I know humans can adapt, but seeing myself do that, go from a place of discomfort and why am I here, to it wasn't so bad and I can do this and I can grow from this, kind of blew my head. And it's not just me. I've made, like I said, a few good friends here, and they've gone through the same experience where it's like, I was homesick and there was so much to learn, but I'm okay and I can adapt and I can do things. Having that confidence to yourself is life-changing. And I'm kind of shocked. Like, this is how humans grow. And while I believe in humans and humanity, seeing it firsthand in myself, my perseverance and my commitment to figuring things out and doing things outside of my comfort zone, makes me proud of myself and makes me actually believe in the fact that humans are adaptable and humans can do so much. So that is lesson number 2. All right, and you can see my towel hanging. Not embarrassing, but yes, you can see my towel hanging. I will be the first to acknowledge it, okay? Okay, lesson number 3. Kind of bleeds into lesson number 2, but lesson number 3 is things are not as easy as you think, but things are also not as hard as others make it seem. Coming here, I was like, oh, it's just 5 weeks. My sisters were like, you're going for 5 weeks, Ruha. And I'm like, it's just 5 weeks. I'll be perfectly okay. I'm gonna have the time of my life. It's gonna be an amazing vacation. Like, it's gonna be so easy. I'll be perfectly okay alone. And I was like this because I'm pretty independent, especially at this age now, where I do most of my things by myself, even though I live with my parents. Or at least I thought I did. I clean up after myself, cook the majority of the food that I eat, do my own laundry. I do the majority of my stuff, right? So coming here was like, I'll be perfectly okay. So independent. My parents have taught me so much. I'll be good. It's gonna be so easy. It was not. Coming here, learning how to go grocery shopping. I did not realize that buying food was so hard. Like, how do you choose which apple to buy? How do you know if a good price is a good price or a bad price? How do you know if cherries should cost $7 a bag or if grapes should cost $12 a bag? Because that's literally how much I paid for grapes and cherries here, and I did not know, right? Learning how to grocery shop was probably the biggest myth buster for me. I thought it was so easy, and no, it's not. It is not easy to live alone, okay? It is not easy to be alone or to embark on an experience like this. But it is not as hard as others make it seem. A lot of people made it seem like it would be so difficult to live by myself, and not in the context of this experience per se, but they, would mention it here and then. If they've ever lived by themselves, it was like, oh, it's impossible, it's so difficult. And living by yourself was just this thing that had been ostracized almost by people in my head and in my life. Like, it's just this horrible, unneeded thing that you just have to do because it's so hard and so terrible. And yes, it is difficult, like I mentioned, but it's not as hard as people make it seem. Like I said, humans are adaptable. Things are hard, but it's not as hard as others make it seem. Okay, now number 4. Why is it so hard to survive? I am literally so appreciative of my parents. Now, you don't understand. Every single time I talk to my dad, I literally tell him, I don't know how you guys have done this for this many, for this many years. How have you done this? Like, after 5 weeks, I am done. I am ready to go home, ask my mom to make me a few kebabs and call it a day, you know? Have my dad bring me cut up fruit because, yes, I am a princess and I do take the princess treatment, okay? But I didn't realize how hard it is to survive. My mom cooking almost every single day. My dad going grocery shopping every single week. My dad taking care of the garbage removal and the recycling and compost and all the chores around the house. And then I think back to the times where I would call out my dad when I'd be like, oh, well, you forgot about this and you forgot about that. And not like, Dad, that was your job, but more like, hey Dad, you mentioned this, you forgot to do this. It was more like, I didn't realize how time consuming all of this is. And well, before I was appreciative of my parents for raising me because they're my parents, and of course I'm going to be appreciative for them doing all of this for me. Now I'm appreciative not from a children's perspective, from a child's perspective, but more so from like an equal's perspective who has had to do the same thing and understands even a bit of how hard it is, because I'm not managing a huge house and I'm not managing a family of now 4 but was a family of 6. You know, I'm not managing all these big things, but I've gotten an inkling of what it's like, and I am just genuinely so thankful for my parents. I'm so thankful for them doing this. Like, literally, how have they done this? I do not understand. I literally do not understand. It is difficult, and it is annoying, and it is irritating, and it takes up so much time. So if you're watching this, thank you, my parents. Thank you. Alright, which brings me to my 5th and last lesson for this video. You don't have to connect with every person, and you don't have to be friends with every person. Now, this is an idea that's not new to me per se, but it's the first time where I'm meeting so many new people at the same time, and it's really shown itself to me, like in action. Like, I've really seen this in action, and I've really become okay, or I'm starting to become okay with this idea of everyone is not meant to be your best friend, and that is okay. That doesn't make them a terrible person or you. You just don't connect, and that is okay. Someone was sent to me. Someone that I consider a mentor once said to me, you know, sometimes you meet a person and you're like, this is gonna be my best friend for life. And sometimes you meet a person and you're like, oh, okay, you know what? It was nice meeting you. And that's okay. And I thought that was a lovely idea until I get here and I actually internalize that idea. Meeting so many people from so many different backgrounds and experiences, you really start to see that you can talk to people and not have to be friends with all of them. And it is perfectly okay. That doesn't make you like an outsider or like you have some sort of weakness or you're not good enough. For some reason, that's just how you feel when you don't connect with someone. It's like, oh, I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not being vulnerable enough. There has to be some way to connect with this person and become good friends. You don't have to. Be authentic, you know, embrace high self-esteem, embrace your own value, and let it go. Take what comes and let go what goes. Like, it's okay not to be friends with the majority of people that you come across. I don't know why we think, oh, this person is great, so I need to be best friends with them because I like them so much. Even if you like someone so much, if you don't connect, you don't connect. And that is life. And you move on, right? You connect with the people you actually connect with, and that's not something that you can control. So you don't have to be friends with everyone. It's not a must. You do not have to be friends with everyone. Not everyone is your best friend, and that is perfectly okay. Hard to internalize, but yes. All right, with that said, those are the 5 lessons that I have learned here, spending 5 weeks in Quebec. This is actually the last week that I'm here. 5 weeks have flown by. Actually, no, I don't want to say that. I have lived these 5 weeks, okay? I have lived these 5 weeks. But they have passed, and I only have, today's Monday, and there's a motorcycle in the background or something. We're leaving for the airport Friday morning, so really only 3 more days left. It's crazy. It's crazy. I've had a life-changing experience, literally. It was not at all like what I thought it would be, but it was still a great experience, and it still taught me so much about myself and life. So I am thankful for having this experience and being able to do it. Now you know what I'm going to say? Until next time.